Duff Macleod, many of my listeners know you, but who is Duff Macleod for the unknown people?
Oh, Doug McLeod. What would you say? Doug McLeod is a guy that learned the blues from an old blues man when he was 19, 20 years old. And Doug McLeod learned these words and this philosophy of life from that old man. He said, never play a note you don't believe, and never write or sing about what you don't know about. And he told me to be a blues man, I got to write, sing, play, and entertain. And he said, if you do all of those, then I'll call you a blues man. And he died before he saw that. So that's pretty much who I am.
So Duff Macleod, he's a blues man today. You are a blues man.
I think so, yeah. I came up through that. I'm one of the guys that didn't learn from CDs or books or that. I learned from the old fellas.
You come from New York originally?
Yeah, well, this is quite a story. I was born in New York, but the story is like this, Jan. Excuse me. I was conceived in North Carolina, Raleigh, and then just before I was born, my father moved us up to New York, where I was born, and then
Duff Macleod, many of my listeners know you, but who is Duff Macleod for the unknown people?
Oh, Doug McLeod. What would you say? Doug McLeod is a guy that learned the blues from an old blues man when he was 19, 20 years old. And Doug McLeod learned these words and this philosophy of life from that old man. He said, never play a note you don't believe, and never write or sing about what you don't know about. And he told me to be a blues man, I got to write, sing, play, and entertain. And he said, if you do all of those, then I'll call you a blues man. And he died before he saw that. So that's pretty much who I am.
So Duff Macleod, he's a blues man today. You are a blues man.
I think so, yeah. I came up through that. I'm one of the guys that didn't learn from CDs or books or that. I learned from the old fellas.
You come from New York originally?
Yeah, well, this is quite a story. I was born in New York, but the story is like this, Jan. Excuse me. I was conceived in North Carolina, Raleigh, and then just before I was born, my father moved us up to New York, where I was born. And then, as my mother told me, 2 months later, we moved back to Raleigh, North Carolina, where now I don't know why. He did the same for my brother a year and a half later, and we don't know why. I have no idea why. And then after that, in North Carolina, I lived there till about the third grade. And from third grade to junior high school, I was in New York area. And then from there, we moved to St. Louis. And then I joined the Navy, and that was it. I was gone.
But after that, you have a long career Duff, as a blues man.
I'm sorry?
You have a long career.
A long career. A long history, a long
history as a blues man.
Yeah. I mean, 60, what was I? Well, I started playing bass in bands in St. Louis when I was 16, 15 years old, playing bass with these blues bands. So, I've been doing it for a while,
So all your life is filled up with music?
Music and cooking. I love to cook. Yeah, when I'm home, I cook. In fact, I got to cook. My wife is such a bad cook that when she goes in the kitchen, the dog leaves.
Is there any connection between your cooking and your music?
Absolutely. My wife would tell you that. She's sitting here right now. I cook the way I play. Like when I do a concert, I never plan anything. All I plan on doing is giving 100% and being true to what I feel. And as far as picking the songs and everything, they just come. And I cook the same way. I get my olive oil, my garlic, my peppers, celery. Got some Cajun style blood in me, so that's how I cook with that, with the trilogy. and I just put it together, and it come out good, you know.
As I know your music, it comes out well. It's a success usually.
Thank you very much. My cooking too.
Tell me about who are your inspirators in blues music?
Yeah. Well, the ones that I knew personally first was Ernest Banks, that old one-eyed blues singer I met in Toronto, Virginia, who gave me those words of advice when I was younger. The other influences was George Harmonica Smith. When I met George in Los Angeles, when I came back to blues, I'd given up blues for a little bit, and because of the rough life and the crazy women and the knives and the gun, I didn't want to live like that anymore. But after a while, I came back. And George, Pee Wee Creighton, who was the godfather of my son, those guys were big influences upon my life that I met. My musical influences, besides Mr. Banks, B.B. King, Big Bill Brunsey, Tampa Red, Son House, Lightning Hopkins. Those were the guys for me.
The only one from these guys living today is B.B. King.
Yeah. What a shame. And you know, I traveled the world, Jan, I'll tell you something. And I asked people, I said, how many blues fans we got out here? And they all, they yell and they go, yeah, blues fans. I said, how many of y'all know the name Tampa Red? And he gets real quiet. So I fear that maybe we're losing some of the history of this music, you know what I mean? I hope we don't lose it.
So you are a contribution to bring this blues history to the young people?
Yeah, and I'm really encouraged when I see young people coming to the concerts. It started in Europe when I saw them coming. And now when I go to America and I play around America, I see it. I see the young musicians too that are in their 20s, 25, 26, 27. I see them come up to me and talk to me about it, and they want to know about it and so on. And I find that good because the young ones, that's where the music's going to carry on, you know. So I really hope that they get a good handle on it.
So there is some youngsters that play blues well today in USA as well.
Yes, there are some young ones, and they keep that tradition alive. Like when there was one I met 5 years ago, and he asked me some advice, and I gave him that advice that Ernest Banks said. And he said, never play a note you don't believe, never write or sing about what you don't know about. And he doesn't have the same life I had, but when he sings, you can feel it. You know what I mean? And so when I see these young guys do it, I'm encouraged. And I'll always try to encourage the young ones that have the talent and have that desire. Are serious about it, because that's what's going to keep the music going, man.
And you find out pretty early if you have a talent or not.
Yeah, in America, it happens real early. You get up in front of people and they start walking out. Maybe something's not right, you know what I mean? So you find out pretty quick. Or the club owner says, look, I ain't going to pay you tonight. That lets you know that maybe you ought to look for another job, you know?
You have lived a long life as a bluesman, so you have a lot of experience during all your visit to different countries, different communities, and you take, of course, inspiration from these travels when you write lyrics, music.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I speak American. I really don't speak English. It's not proper, and when I go to England, sometimes I don't understand what they're saying, you know. You know what I mean? Some of those guys in Newcastle and so on, I go, what did that guy say? But I found the inspiration I find it amazing, like in the Czech Republic, which I don't have a chance to speak that language. The Norwegian language is very hard for me, right? Danish, very, very hard for me to hear. The Dutch language. French I can do because I got some French blood in me. I can get French, But I find out that it's amazing that the feeling of the music transcends language. It goes to your heart no matter what. And that in itself is a big inspiration, you know?
You're traveling a lot around in Europe. What's the audience? It's very different from country to country.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Sometimes very different, sometimes not so different. Each audience every night is different. That's why I never plan a show, because the audience is different and I'm different, you know, and I hope you just connect with them. But what I do see, audience-wise, when I am playing, is that if I get their attention and they come with me, I know I can reach them and touch them, maybe make them laugh, maybe make them think, make them cry, make them do all the things that this music's supposed to make you feel, you know.
What is most important in your, as a bluesman? Is it the message, the story, or is it the music?
Put those two things you said to me together. The most important thing is honesty. That's what I got to do. I got to just be honest. Get myself out of the way. Tell my story. Tell it truthfully. Musically, on the guitar, that means like just playing what I feel and not trying to overplay. Singing what I feel and coming honestly. Because if I come honestly to you, just like I'm talking to you now, and I can see your eyes, and I know you're getting the thing I'm saying, I'm going to your heart. And that's what I learned from those old guys, Jan, was the heart. It's about the feeling. It's about reaching inside and making a difference, making it so that people can say, yeah, I've had hard times in my life. I had them myself growing up. But feeling sorry for yourself ain't gonna make it. What's gonna make it is when you realize someone else went through some bad times, they survived, you can survive too. And not only survive, but actually do some great things and move forward. Now, that's what blues music can do for you. And that's a powerful message, don't you think? I do too.
About your CDs, how many CDs have you produced?
I think there's 15 now. 15, and we got a couple of DVDs. There's a performance DVD on Black and Tan and a guitar instructional on Solid Air. So I guess so, and I played on many of them. I mean, I've played guitar, backed up guys and different people. So
you called the master of the acoustic guitar?
That's kind. To some people, maybe, I don't know.
But you have your only personal way to play guitar?
Yes. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody that plays like me, and that's again goes back to the old guy I learned from. You see, when you play an acoustic guitar, your left hand is your brain. Now, you guitar player, you can tell what a guy's doing in his left hand pretty much. Only so much you can do up there. But what is your personality that makes you unique is what goes on in right hand. Some of the great right hands ever, thumbs, was Blind Blake, Brunsey, Big Bill Brunsey, he was a killer. Lightning Hopkins, their right hands, all these guys, their right hands made them distinct. If you put on a Blind Willie McTell record, you're gonna know it's him. If you put on a Blind Boy Fuller, you're gonna know it's him. You'll never mistake him for Robert Johnson. You'll never mistake Robert Johnson for Big Bill Brunsey, right? You understand what I'm saying? Because that right hand was the thing that said, this is who I am. So when folks tell me that, yeah, when they hear a couple of notes and they say, yeah, that's Doug Macleod, well, I'm flattered. That means I must be doing it right.
And your text, your lyrics is important. And you're making jokes. You have a lot of humor in your lyrics. You talk about politics and everything about the stories, and much of the stories is about women, of course.
Yeah. Well, I dated women, you know. I mean, if I dated men, I'd be singing another kind of blues. You're probably doing another interview tonight. I had a woman in San Francisco. I had this woman in San Francisco, man. I got done with this show and I was signing CDs. And she came up to me and she said, how come you don't write any songs against women? I said, what? She said, how come you don't write any songs against women? I said, I didn't date women. I said, I didn't, I said, I didn't date men. I dated women. And she said, oh. I said, like, I looked at her like, why is that so hard to figure out? You know what I mean?
Okay. But Duff, you have an advantage compared to us in the public, because you see the women from the scene, from the stage. You observe them from the stage. That's quite different. I think you have some other, let's say, experience than we.
It's true. Not only the women, but I also see the men. I also see things that I shouldn't see. You know, it's like when you go to the zoo, you're looking at the monkey, but the monkey looking right back at you. You know what I'm saying? Somebody wrote a song like that. Smart. I see things. There's some songs I do where I see men cry, and they try and hold it back. I don't think that's right. I think if you got that feeling, man, let it out. I see some things where women feel things, sometimes even angry because of my songs, you know. But it's the matter of feeling. And if I hit a nerve and it bothers you, then maybe you better think about that, right? Maybe that's something that you might want to take a look at, you know?
Get it out by the music.
Yeah, you get it out by the music, yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, we're all looking for the same thing. If you add it all up, if you break it all down to the very basic ingredient, what everybody wants in this world is love. That's what all the songs about, pretty much, isn't it, right?
100%.
I don't care if it's pop, blues, rock, everybody wants love, isn't it? And the hardest thing to get in this world is love, isn't it? True love, where you really feel it's real and you feel satisfied, comfortable, assured. If my songs can make somebody think for a minute and say, maybe I'm not happy with this person, or maybe I'm not doing something right in this relationship, well, maybe they got a chance to get happy, don't they?
Because today the people have a good life. They don't starve or like they did before. So now it's heartbreak. It's about, of course. And the blues is, instead of taking pills, you listen to the blues when you're heartbreak.
I think that's a smart idea. You know, Ernest Banks told me this. One time we were sitting down on a corner on Freemason Street in Norfolk, Virginia, drinking a bottle of Chianti wine together. So I asked him, I said, you know, Mr. Banks, I said, you know, I don't know nothing about picking cotton. The stuff you've taught me about hellhounds and black cat bones and mojos, I said, I don't even want to know any more about that stuff. I don't want to be a witness to any more of that stuff. What am I going to write about? And then he looked at me, he only had one eye. He looked at me with that one eye and he said, boy, he said, you ever been lonely? I said, yeah. He said, boy, did you ever need money for that little room you got up there in that rooming house? I said, yeah. He said, that's the blues too, boy. Right about that. And that night, Jan, I learned that the blues is not necessarily all about old-time stuff like picking cotton. It might have come from there. Of course it did. But blues is about the basic feelings of people. When I met Brownie McGee, he and I talked, and he said what he said so many times. He said, blues is truth. Willie Dixon and I met, another great blues songwriter, and he said to me, he said, blues is the true facts of life. Everything. Humor, sadness, wonderment, bewilderment, confusement, all those things that go into this thing we call life. That's blues. Mm-hmm.
I would be very happy if all the youngsters, the young people, knew this today, because they connect the blues with something very sad. That everybody's crying, but nobody's crying on the concert, blues concert.
No, and you know, the old guys, what they had was a great sense of humor. That's what I remember. They laughed at so much. You know that line, I'm laughing to keep from crying, right? Well, that's the way they lived. That's the way they lived. And some of these guys, like I was just talking to Mitch Woods, right? Mitch and I sit down, we laugh. I'll see Coco Montoya in a few days, hopefully. We're going to do a show together, and we'll see each other. And I'll bet you a nickel we'll laugh again. You know, it's that old school thing. That's what you learn from those guys. Yeah.
They don't take the life so seriously when
They didn't, no. Yeah, I never heard one of them call themselves an artist. They call themselves entertainers. Yeah, I never heard Big Joe Turner say that he was an artist. George Smith, Pee Wee Creighton, Lowell Fulson. I never heard that from their lips. Albert Collins. Only thing I heard from them, John Lee Hooker. I met him. They're entertainers. That's what they consider themselves. Little Milton.
Duff, how is it with the interest of blues in USA today? The interest of blues?
Not as much. Not as much. I think what's happened is it's been watered down. What's going for blues now, in my opinion, not all blues there. You know, maybe it's a process of the music growing. Maybe it's a process of it changing and evolving. Maybe it has to come down a little bit to go up, but it's not what it used to be. And I fear saying that because I'm an older guy now. You know, older guys always go, "Oh well, it was better in the old days," but I'm not really that kind of old guy, so I don't see it like it was, and I don't quite know why.
Duff, what will you say to the listeners of Bluestrain if they want to, for the first time, to go to USA, to meet the blues, go to the best concerts? Do you have something to say to them?
Well, I tell you what, there's a couple places to go. You should go to Chicago. You should also go down to the Memphis area, St. Louis, Memphis. Make sure that when you leave Memphis that you go into places that is not on the beaten track. Go to some places where you might find some bands that you might never heard of. Deep, down towards the Delta area, down around Tunica, Mississippi, and down in that area. See if you find Clarksdale. See if you find a little place, walk in there and hear some music. Or go to the West Coast. San Francisco, Los Angeles area. There's some great blues there. Great blues up and down that coast. Portland, Oregon's got some good music too. Mm-hmm.
There you can have some live music as well.
Yeah, good. There's some good live bands playing, good live solo guys. San Diego's got Ben Hernandez and Nathan James. That's some good acoustic guys there. Yeah, there's some good stuff out there. But to get the blues experience, you want to go to Mississippi and so on. That is good. You can get around it. But the blues experience lives inside you. And I don't care if you're a Norwegian. I don't care if you're American, Canadian. I don't care what you are. The blues experience lives inside you.
You heard that? In Little Norway, we are 4.5 million people. There are our 70 blues clubs. So the interest in Norway is very great. I don't have the answer, but it's strange.
Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I mean, and again, I'm so fortunate that this might be the first of a couple of trips I might be making to your country, and I'm glad. I'm looking forward to it. I've heard a lot about your country and how you folks keep this music alive. I think that's real important.
You promised to come back, Duff, to Norway?
I'll tell you something, Jan. If they ask me, I'm coming back. Yeah.
You must come to Notodden.
I would love to come there. I would love to come there. And they were talking about this place called Smalgard, too. That you might go up there, way up north by the North Pole.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Svalbard.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah. I can't say the language, Yeah. But if anybody would want me to come back here, I'll come back in a New York minute.
People go to internet, Duff, to see your biography or your CDs. Where do you go then?
Okay, it's www.doug, D-O-U-G, hyphen Macleod, MacLeod, Leod.com.
And then they can ask you to come to play for them if they have a party or something.
As long as they behave themselves.
Thank you very much. Have a good luck.
Thank you, Jan. It's a pleasure to be with you. And good luck with Bluestrain.